Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another award show audit.
Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome to this. I can't say all dinosaur, but this finale of dinosaurs.
Yes,
Also, Olive is here. All of the other dinosaur.
all of the other dinosaur. Yes,
Yes,
this is a special episode because we're doing 2 years at once, basically.
yes.
But
We're not finishing the hour or more category, but this is the last time we're going to be consistently talking about it. From here on out, every so often we'll do the hour or more category. It only shows up a few more times. They don't do it every year in the 90s. I don't know why. No one knows anything about this award show. But we are going to be talking about just the beginning of these dinosaur documentaries, but it's going to be the end for us.
yep,
And yes, also all of the other reindeer, the very stylistically interesting looking Christmas special based on a children's book starring half the cast of Futurama.
hmm
Uh, oh, you're kind of quiet,
Oh
Shadow.
boy, here we go. All right. Well, actually, no, there is. Okay, I actually did have it set down a little bit.
Hmm.
How about now, my friends?
Shadow was quiet. Pie Guy's loud. Change one, not both. Yeah, both is
Okay.
not an option. I agree.
I bumped myself up a little bit. Let me know if that's good. If not, I will bump myself up more.
I can mute myself if that'll fix anything.
Oh, sure. Why not? Hey guys, it's
Nathan
just
G.
me.
Nathan G says the dinosaur documentaries for this award show have become the new Pop's Burgers.
Oh
Oh,
my
I
god,
forgot.
they have.
It's
They
true.
really
What's
have.
What's gonna be the boogeyman in the 90s? Is it gonna be like cow and chicken or something?
Oh no.
What are we gonna get sick of in the 90s? It won't be The Simpsons, so
Yeah, I mean, we've made it this far, and we've been not even watching the best Simpson episodes, so yeah, I don't think it'll be that. But what else gets nominated a ton? I don't know. I haven't paid too much attention yet to that decade.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, we said it last week, but we didn't expect that we'd have to watch so many dinosaur documentaries when we agreed to do the hour or more category. We thought it would just be a few, but it's been a constant stream, and yeah, so
It's good to be free. Well,
yeah,
almost. We're almost
yeah,
there.
we still have to talk about it, but we don't have to watch it anymore.
Nope.
Pie Guy loves these documentaries like he loves Sonic. You got it, dude.
No, you would much rather play Sonic than watch these Dino Docs. Don't even. There were games that you actually had a somewhat pleasant experience with. And they
All
aren't
right.
nearly as long.
All right, you got me.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
me. Uh, thanks for the super chat, Tim. Are either of us familiar with Casper 1995? That's my favorite dinosaur
Oh
documentary.
yes, Casper the
uh,
the scary pterodactyl, yeah.
no, I think I've seen that one. That's the one where you like befriends a little girl in live action, maybe. If I'm thinking of that, I think I've seen that. I think it
I
aired on Cartoon Network.
I never really watched anything Casper, so I hardly know it. I know of it,
Mm,
but I haven't watched anything really.
hmm Uh, how did you find those documentaries? They seem very obscure to watch. I mean, a lot of them are available on YouTube or streaming services, or even just to rent or buy for pretty cheap. So, believe it or not, the Walking with Dinosaurs lineage, which is what most of the things we've talked about, not
Yep.
all of them, but most of these documentaries have been, it's something that is well preserved and well liked by a large number of people. But Shadow and I are
Are
not
not those
them.
people. Not at all.
Yeah. Okay. So, Shadow, what was nominated in 2001 in the hour or more category?
In 2001, there was one nominee, and that nominee was The Ballad of Big Al, aka Allosaurus, A Walking with Dinosaurs special.
Okay.
That
So we're
was
going to
it.
talk about that first,
Yep.
but then what else are we going to talk about tonight? What was nominated in the year 2000?
In the year 2000, there were two nominees, and they were Olive, the Other Reindeers, we've said many, many times, and Walking with Dinosaurs, the start of the whole franchise. So we're doing 2001 first, and then we'll go to these two after that.
Yes. All right.
So let's just get into Allosaurus right off the bat.
So, uh, the Ballad of Big Al. It's it's two different 30-minute things basically. Um, where the first half is a lot like a lot of the other stuff we talked about, where it is a documentary about a dinosaur in olden prehistoric days. The special thing about this one is that it is about one specific dinosaur called Big Al, who's an Allosaurus. And the second part of this, the other half hour, is kind of it's not quite a making of, but it's basically a real life explanation as to how we know the things we know about Big Al. Because as it turns out, Big Al is a dinosaur skeleton that we have. He's a pretty well preserved Allosaurus, and it kind of goes into the details of, well, this is, in the first part, when you watched the story part of this, we showed Big Al tripping over, and the reason we showed that is because he has a wound on his toe, and you can very well see he had a big wound on his toe in the skeleton.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, unlike Alien Earth, this is mostly based on real evidence and facts that we can prove and not just hypothesize. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
yeah. So thank you for the super chat, Toon J, who says the Ballad of Big Al Bundy. I was definitely thinking that, by the way, with this. And thank you, Gian, who says Evil Pie and Shadow be like, I love dinosaur documentaries. I hate that we're almost done with them.
If you ever see me on Twitter say I love dino documentaries, you know I've been hacked.
The Ballad of Big Al's Toy Bar.
Yeah. Can't believe I have to drive all the way to work on a Saturday. All the way to work.
Okay. And wasn't he in Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
What's his face? Newman. Oh gosh, whatever his name is. I'm
Yeah.
sure people in the chat are gonna tell me. Okay, so yeah, to be completely honest, I thought this was actually pretty decent. If I hadn't had to watch dinosaur documentaries for like the past few months, I might have actually just like flat out enjoyed this, because I feel like this fixes a lot of problems that I have with these documentaries, in that we follow one character. Like, they make a character out of Big Al. He's not anthropomorphized. It's not like he talks or anything. But we follow one specific dinosaur and the journey of his life. So there's something to latch onto. It's not just like, oh, and there's this dinosaur that exists, and there's this dinosaur that exists, and, we hop around. That happens in a lot of these other ones. This one follows a very specific dinosaur. And I like the fact that the second half of this goes into detail, and it's basically a citation, right? It's, when Shadow and I watch a lot of these, we're like, how did they know that? We're not necessarily doubting. Like, we're not saying that they are perpetuating lies. We're just saying we have no way of knowing without doing research ourselves. But the fact that the Ballad of Big Al goes into detail and says, like, hey, we found the skeleton here, and we know this, and it's like, that's why we showed it, and then it kind of shows the clips. It's a little annoying that it shows some clips from the first half that we've already just seen, but it does kind of use it to back up the evidence of what they're saying. So I thought that this one was uniquely better than basically all the rest of them. If I had to rank them, I think I would put the Ballad of Big Al at number 1. I don't, strictly speaking, remember all of them, because a lot of them blur together in my brain. I remember last time we talked about the dinosaur documentaries, the one we saw that kind of followed one specific species. That one was decent too, but I actually thought this was pretty decent. I didn't really enjoy watching it because, again, I am just so burned out on these things that are just not my personal taste. Not a knock against them, but just I'm not a big fan of them, that I'm kind of burned out. But yeah, I think if I was going to recommend any of them, this is the one I would recommend.
Yeah, this was surprisingly bearable. And I also have the same mindset of, if I were to pick any of these to be like kind of the best experience, I think this is the one to go to, because, as you mentioned, it backs up a lot of the claims and a lot of the evidence that is told. And the thing that I like about this is they give us an actual narrative. There is a story here. We follow Big Al from birth to death. We see various things that happen, again, hypothetical, but backed up by like legitimate evidence. We don't actually know exactly how he hurt his toe, But there's a theory proposed. There's this whole fight between another Allosaurus, and Big Al gets his foot hurt or his arm and some ribs broken, which are
Right.
all
Like
real things.
most likely he hurt his toe by tripping. Like that does make sense, right?
Yeah, and it's hypothetical how it happened, but they present the fact that it did happen, and we know this. And I appreciate the interview segments because unlike other documentaries where the people are kind of just talking about something, we're actually seeing legitimate professors and experts on these subjects showing us the real bones, pointing out exactly like where this can be found. We see scans of the actual like bone comparison of healthy bone versus destroyed bone trying to repair itself. We see the actual physical skeleton many, many times. We actually got to see an Allosaurus's heart that was preserved over centuries, millennia, which was really cool. I like getting to see actual real dinosaur artifacts along with these CG specials. I thought that was a really cool implementation. However, as far as this being nominated goes, this is one of the least nominated animated dinosaur specials. There's
so
not.
The first half is just completely animated except for the backgrounds. And as far as the animation and CG goes, little bit dated. I don't think it was like awful. It's not like it looks N64 level, but it's definitely dated by today's standard.
It looked better than that Dinosaurs Roamed America one with John Goodman that we had to watch 2 weeks ago. It looked better than that, and this was a year prior, so I agree there. But yeah, no, I understand the point that you brought up of them including the clips from the first half to visually replicate what is being discussed. But at the same time, really, it is only a half hour of animation, if that. Because, there's a lot of other shots of just environment and other things to fill in time. But, as far as being a well-made documentary, I think this is one of the best ones. And it's not perpetuating lies like a certain dragon documentary that we know of. And it's not. It wasn't super boring either. Like,
here's the thing. Here's the thing about Big Al. Right, his character trait is that he is the worst dinosaur.
Is that he dumb.
Sucks. The reason the skeleton they found has over 17 injuries to it, and so Big Al was awful throughout this whole thing. We see Big Al repeatedly fail at hunting things, not being able to eat because like other Allosauruses are eating over him. He trips. He loses fights.
He tries to mate and then just gets completely like bulldozed over. Like, this guy's a schmuck. He just sucks at everything.
He's a funny character because he's a big loser.
Yeah, he basically is. As I said to Pi, he's like the Venom of dinosaur documentaries. But it's like it's actually amusing, which is nice.
Yeah. I don't know if the intention was to make him look like such a loser.
No, but it's more fun to just view it that way. Like if you go through with that lens, it is more enjoyable, for sure.
Rowan ever asks why we always pick the title card for these, and it's just because they're really confusing. If we were to show you screenshots from all of these,
would you know
you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Yeah, exactly. I can hardly even remember the title. That's why they're on here. So, dear.
They're the easiest and most distinguished aspect to really individualize every single one. Because if we didn't, if like Pi said, I mean, there was one that I was really pushing for Pi to let me use, but join the Discord server and you'll see that one for yourself. I will say though, speaking of that, there is a little bit more use of puppetry in this one than a lot of the later ones where they really push the CGI. I appreciated the kind of, because puppetry I definitely consider animation. That is definitely a form of animation. It's very different from like a drawing or a CG model, but it's still animating something that's otherwise inanimate.
I guess that's true.
I know it's definitely not the same thing. It's like stop motion. That's another form of animation that's very, very different from like, your typical hand drawings. Because I just view animation as if you're able to make a series of images of otherwise inanimate things come to life through motion, that by definition is animation. But again, animation comes in many different forms, and would I necessarily say that puppetry animation should be in the same category? No. But I personally consider it a form of animation. That's just my personal definition.
Okay.
But I do appreciate the incorporation of live action elements that aren't just people talking or a still shot of a forest.
The only thing is that whenever they use the puppetry, it's always like an incredible close-up on the head.
And it's
because they only built a puppet of the head. Yeah.
That's the thing, though. It's easy to tell because the CG's so bad. And I'm sure if the CG was better, then there could be shots where it might be harder to distinguish between them. But
I wish
again,
the whole
this
thing
was
was
2000.
puppet.
Yeah, dude, me too. Me too. I would have just rather them walk around in a giant dinosaur inflatable suit.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as being in this category, it's as tenuous as so many other things. And that, yes, it does consider animation. And animation that was probably, like, maybe kind of impressive for the time. I mean, what, 2001, wasn't Toy Story 2 out? Like, Shrek had come out. Like,
Shrek and
I mean,
Monsters,
I know the...
Inc.
Oh yeah, those are movies. Of course, they have a bigger budget, but, like...
Yeah.
It's not
Those
like
ones
this pushes
also,
the boundary.
Yeah, and those ones also weren't going for realism the way this one is. And I think that's another, like, it's admirable, but it's also detrimental. Because obviously the more realistic you get with animation, the more difficult it is to actually make it. The closer it gets to that uncanny valley territory. And once you're in that valley, it's very distracting. You know, you're either better off just staying away from that, making something more cartoony, because that doesn't ruin people's immersion as much, or you're able to implement live action, make it, you know, that good. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely aged, as all of these have. But it's not the worst looking one by far. And yeah,
it's not like. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Hayden.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not like, I don't know. The way we're describing it, again, it's much better than N64. It's not like we're looking at like polygonal, you know, like sharp, pointy-edged things. It's more like the problems with it are that like the textures aren't that detailed. The resolution is just kind of lower in general.
Lighting and shadows is a big problem.
Yep. Collision, like whenever it has to like pick up meat or like interact, it's like it's not like horribly clipping, but it's always just kind of awkward. It never looks correct. But you know what? Because this one also follows one specific Allosaurus, at least it like, I feel like they had plenty of time to develop that one dinosaur.
They were able to put more effort into that specific model because they didn't have to go through a bunch of different species.
Yeah.
This was the one that had that POV shot, right? With all or am I thinking of the other one?
No, I think you're thinking of the other one. Hayden asked, they forgot to put it in their super chat, but will we ever do animated movies at the Oscars like we cover the Emmys? Never.
Never say never.
Never consistently, not every week, because we're not
long.
Yeah, movies are long, and I'm not a big movie guy personally. But definitely it's something that we are considering for maybe some special events or something. Certainly. Yeah, never say never.
How about...
but you know what shot is in here, Shadow? The one with all of the Allosauruses surrounding
I was just
the one big dinosaur.
Like, how about that epic, like, intense second act right there with that herd of whatever they were, brontosauruses or whatever. I don't remember what they were. But
okay, so here's what happens.
Going on?
Here's what happens. There's a bunch of young Allosauruses. I think Big Al is like 1 or 2 at that point. And basically they're in a desert. There's like a herd of large dinosaurs that are slowly crossing the desert. And these Allosauruses just pop up out of nowhere. Like, the desert is empty. We can see all around, and yet it goes from, like, 1 to 2 to 3 to, like, 7 by the end of it, right? And it's just the weirdest thing, too, because what they do is they, like, race the big dinosaurs and then try to surround one of them, and literally the one stands there and just dies of heat exhaustion. The Allosauruses don't even fight it. And, like, it just stands there, and it's like, you might think, I was thinking, why doesn't that thing even just try to walk away and see what happens? Apparently he was so scared of what they could possibly do to him that he stood there until he died.
Even though it's literally established while he is standing still, he bashes his neck into one of those Allosauruses and just pushes him to the ground completely. Like, it shows it struggling to stand back up and everything. I'm like, why not just do that again? Like,
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't know.
Catch back up. Come on. I don't know.
It
That
could
was
be
silly.
accurate. Who knows? That could be the way dinosaurs hunt. But it just looked silly.
It's silly.
It just and with so many Allosauruses popping out, and then it's funny because Al doesn't get to eat much because all the other Allosauruses like kick him off the carcass. Like, oh
Yeah.
man, Big Al is such a loser. I love that like he tries to mate with a female and the
it
female
just
like attacks
bullies him. Yeah, dude. Al only has one win in this entire thing, and that is he sees the other Allosaurus. And I guarantee that if they didn't set this up, it would have just been it. But he sees another Allosaurus go for a Stegosaurus that's decaying because it got stuck in some really thick like mud tar pit. And so he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, that dinosaur's stuck. I'm gonna go this way." But they literally
Yeah.
like open his first year of life with him trying to hunt twice, and both times he just doesn't kill anything, and he just walks away and leaves. Look,
and
he's a
it's
literal loser.
proposed and it's proposed that he dies because he's got his leg injury that like after a year he hasn't healed and he just dies. He
just
can't
falls
hunt.
over and dies.
He was a loser hunting when he had full health,
Yeah.
and then he was an even bigger loser when he couldn't
Yeah,
move.
He just
Like
sucks. Al sucks.
we joked that he needed Spear from Primal to protect him
I
for
know.
for an episode so he
Uh,
could properly heal. Poor guy.
It was
I you know.
sad. It was just a sad life. Poor Al. But yeah, he's my favorite character out of all of these docs. I mean, don't get me
Oh,
wrong,
yeah.
Nigel was great, but this
What about the
Al-
dragons?
Al, though. Who? Okay, that
It's
other
also
doctor.
it's
That other
also
doctor.
it's also funny too because like I don't think I've ever seen in any media a dinosaur that just sucked. Like, you know what I mean? Usually when you see dinosaurs, they're tough and intimidating and scary and like fierce hunters. I don't know that I've ever seen a dinosaur story where the dinosaur was such a loser.
Yeah, right. It's very unique in that sense too.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, Al. You never got to eat anything.
Oh, what a schmuck.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, if you can't tell by us talking about it, yeah, this has definitely brought me more joy than any of the other ones. And if I had just seen this without seeing any of the other ones, I might have just been like, just unironically enjoying it. If you are interested in dinosaur documentaries, like I say, check out The Ballad of Big Al.
Yeah.
It's only a half hour if you only want to watch like the story of Big Al, and then if you're interested in some of like the evidence behind it, it's the other half hour. So,
Yep.
all right, Shadow. What
Yeah.
won the Emmy that year?
Well, it's funny you asked that because it went to The Ballad of Big Al. How about that?
Oh, wow!
Never saw that coming. Isn't that crazy?
All right.
Do you know what won the poll?
Well, the poll. Okay, so I included all 3 entries on the poll. You can vote in the description. I figure it's mostly just for fun, since, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So yeah, we'll go over that after the other ones then. Do you want to do our nominees right now or save them too?
We can do our nominees.
All right. Do you
So
want to
for
go first or
2001.
Yeah. Do you want to go first or should I?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So 2001. Let me just pull up my thing. Which one of these? Okay, so airing in November 25th, 2000. Right, that's eligible. November of 2000
Yep.
is eligible for 2001. Okay, just confusing because we have 2 this year. Cat Dog and the Great Parent Mystery.
Oh.
It's 3 episodes of the show, which I believe would make it, well, probably 40 minutes, but with commercials over an hour. For the life of me, I haven't seen this in ages, but as a kid, I remember really liking it. I felt like it was a pretty big, epic adventure that set out to answer a mystery and then didn't. But yeah, I remember it being sweet and I remember it being enjoyable. And let's be honest, there's not a lot of options here because Disney Channel wasn't making animated DComs at this stage, and what else would really be eligible other than something from Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon? And I don't think Cartoon Network did anything that year, so I don't know. Unless, what do you got, Shadow?
All right. So mine's a little bit of a weird situation. But
Uh-oh.
the Emmys are
Powerpuff
so
Girls movie.
no, the Emmys are so gray that I could totally see this being eligible. But hey, I don't know.
Mhm.
Mine is gonna be Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. The Adventure Begins.
Oh,
The first
that's
three.
a spicy one.
It is because it was a direct-to-DVD film, but it was also the first 3 episodes of the TV series, which aired on television in October. The movie was released in August of the same year.
Now, Shadow, which version are you nominating? The one with Tim Allen, Tim
Patrick
Allen,
Warburton or Tim Allen? Dude,
yeah?
I don't really know because I need to watch both versions to tell you which one I prefer, but they are both. Well, I mean, dude, Patrick Warburton is like one of a kind, but Tim
Yeah.
Allen's also the OG. So I'd have to watch both to tell you which performance I prefer.
How about Chris Evans?
Oh yes, of course. I didn't consider the third option, but no, I'm gonna go with that because it did technically air as television episodes, first 3 episodes of the series, 2 months after it was released on DVD. I would say that qualifies. But basically, it's an animated adaptation of the in-universe television series of Buzz Lightyear that the toy is based on in the Toy Story franchise. It's a little weird to think about, but the film kind of establishes Buzz actually in Star Command. It shows off, kind of the quote-unquote space force, I guess, that he is a part of, and he forms this team after his partner, quote-unquote, dies. And he kind of establishes these connections with an apprentice named Mira Nova, and he meets up with a Robot XR and Booster, and they kind of form their Team Lightyear squad. And it's just kind of like an origin 3-parter that sets up the rest of the TV series, which I was really a fan of as a kid. So
Yeah, and you could watch that and the whole series not on Disney Plus because I believe Pixar hated this show.
I guess so. Well, what's
There's,
really weird...
There's the complicated history. I don't even remember all the details, but...
Yeah, I don't either. I'm actually curious to look into this, but I'm just looking at how it was released. 65 episodes. It aired from October 2000 to January 2001. 65 episodes. In 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, that's insane. So I'm actually... Well, 4 months, actually. But I'm curious about this. I kind of want to do some more reading on this one. So... Yeah, that is one I would nominate because I remember liking it a lot, and I think that for a 2D animated adaptation of a 3D series, that's an interesting concept. I don't know if anything else existed before it. I think this might be the first of its kind.
According to Aaron Sparrow, Pixar has barred elements from the series from being used in other Toy Story media.
Wow.
To the point where they're not allowed to even acknowledge the existence of a Buzz Lightyear cartoon in universe.
Wow.
Apparently due to John Lasseter's dislike of the series. In spite of this, the Return to Buzz Lightyear arc of Boom Studios' Toy Story comic did feature a booster toy and had Andy mention XR. Not even Lasseter's departure from Disney in the end of 2018 changed anything, with Pixar developing a new spin-off film called Lightyear.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat, Tunjay. I hate Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. So...
Yes, I brought that up right before the show. I did. Pi told me how much he loves it. It's great.
Stupid song, stupid movie. I love my grandmother. I never understood the weird song that kind of implies your grandmother died thanks to Santa Claus. The movie, I guess, lightens it, but as a kid, I always thought the implication was that grandma was just murdered.
Yeah, no.
Just in cold blood, dead.
I never liked it. I hated how much it was on Cartoon Network. I did not like the film at all. Yeah, no, I wouldn't nominate that, but as we've said, there weren't a lot of choices this year, so who knows? If there were like 4 nominations, maybe that would have gotten one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
You know what? I'll give it that it's animated. I mean, I don't know. Again, I like Big Al, but it's not really that animated, and it's just, I mean, I guess it's not that weird because it's only in a category by itself, so at least this year we didn't have to pick, like...
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like the Nigel one too. It's a similar thing where it's like that one follows a live action guy, but it's still cool in a way. I guess it's not.
I do kind of feel like the more back in time we've gone with these dinosaur ones, no pun intended there. The better they've kind of gotten. Like Nigel himself was somewhat entertaining, although
Yeah,
that one was still kind of boring. The dragon one is super entertaining
that
for
one's
like the
just in a
super
world of
wrong
its own.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the ones from 2 weeks ago were both pretty bad though, especially with
Yeah.
those. I mean, I guess we did see the demon monkeys. That was interesting, I suppose. But yeah, no. All in all, as for 2001, there really wasn't a lot of choices there because most of the animated stuff was released in theaters. So I mean, because there was Jimmy Neutron, Monsters Inc., Shrek, like we mentioned, Pokemon 2000, I believe, was released in theaters. So there weren't a
Got
lot
a
of
Mew card.
choices. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But
And it's worth nothing because everyone else my age got one as well.
uh-huh. Yeah. But hey, so yeah, that's 2001 in a nutshell. It just felt like a weak year overall, but Big Al wasn't bad. It was pretty bearable. That's
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
All right. Moving on.
Alrighty, so to the year 2000, Y2K. We had 2 nominations, as we mentioned earlier, the first of which being Olive, the Other Reindeer.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So
All right, Skull Pie, tell me how much you hated it.
no, I gotta describe it, buddy.
Go for it.
Okay. So this is Matt Groening produced,
Yeah, it is.
adapted from a book, Christmas Story, CGI but like 2D stylized, about a dog named Olive who thinks that the Olive the Other Reindeer part in Rudolph, the Rudolph song, and just I guess a saying that someone says in the movie means that Olive is actually a reindeer and the other reindeer, and Santa needs another reindeer because one of his reindeer's not doing so good. And so Olive goes to the North Pole to save Christmas and help Santa deliver the presents by being that reindeer. Also, there's an evil mailman.
Yes, there is.
And one of the penguins of Madagascar is here.
Yep.
This is a bizarre thing. It
It's
features like half the cast of Futurama. Like and the mailman voice, I think someone pointed out in the Discord, but it's just true. Dan Castellaneta's mailman voice is like exactly like the robot devil from Futurama, and his song in this movie is kind of similar sounding.
Yeah.
I think like Tress MacNeille's in it too, and Kath Soucie, and just a lot of those people. Drew Barrymore,
Barrymore
weirdly,
is Olive.
very weird choice, but she's there.
Yeah.
If you want to honestly know how I feel about this, I thought it was cute. I thought it was charming. I thought it was not for me. I there are some things that I don't like about this, but all in all, I think it's kind of a charming, sweet little, weird Christmas story. A few jokes in there for adults, but mostly kind of like a young kid thing. Like the designs really do evoke, like Blue's Clues, right? Like young, preschool aged stuff. But then again, like I said, some of the jokes are a little more adult oriented. I wouldn't have gone back. I did watch this when I was younger. I wouldn't have gone back to it as an adult if it weren't for this show. And I was more surprised because I recall as a kid thinking it was kind of boring, but maybe just it was aired too much. Like, who knows? But yeah, no, I was. I thought it was fine. I think that for a younger audience, I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I think that as far as what this film is trying to be, it succeeds tenfold. I mean, it is literally an animated children's storybook, basically. Although, ironically enough, I actually made a video on this 4 years ago almost, and I did a lot of research on the production. I actually pulled up my script and went back through it and reread over it. But as it turns out, despite this being based on a book, the story of this film is almost nothing like the story of the book. There are
Really?
hardly any similarities. I mean, other than the main character thinking that, she is a reindeer that needs to go help Santa. But, like, the postman, Martini, aren't in the book at all. They're completely original characters made for this film, which is interesting. But I mean, yeah, it really evokes that pop-up storybook like element with its animation. Because as Pi mentioned, these are 3D models, except they're flat. They're on a 2D
Right.
plane, animated like actual storybook images. Very Paper Mario-esque in a lot
Yes.
of
Yeah, I
ways.
was gonna
Like
say that.
this is Paper Mario before Paper Mario, because Paper Mario came out like a year after this.
Because
Um,
and the environments are all big and blocky. Like
yes,
you
like
know this is it's a CG film just
mhm,
because like even in that screenshot you can see the presents in the background are
yep,
just completely blocks. Like
yeah.
they are kind of simple renders. As far as CG goes, like I don't think this is impressive, but
It's
because it is so stylized,
mhm,
it doesn't look that dated. Some of the
no.
simpler geometry in the backgrounds do kind of stand out. But the characters certainly don't. They look stylized and weird. There's a few characters in here that you look at and you're like,
Especially the
what is?
humans. Yeah.
Yes, her Olive's owner
Dude,
looks
his
like
nose
something.
like
It
his
looks like
nose
something.
points out and then it like goes it goes it's so weird.
Yeah.
The humans are definitely a very weird and I would totally understand if some people don't like the art style of the human characters. I think the animals definitely look a lot better. Um but I think that as far as like it aging, it's aged a little bit. You can definitely tell, especially in like textures and whatnot. And when they do kind of do some 3D effects, like when you watch Olive during her opening song when she's on the ice and she kind of slides into the snow, it does this weird warping effect that like really sticks out. But for the most part, I think it looks pretty good. And the fact that it's more cartoony definitely aids in that department. This was actually animated by the same team that would then go on to do Jimmy Neutron after this film, DNA Productions, which is cool.
Paul.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and let me think. I'm scrolling through my notes that I had on this. Um, oh yeah, Ed Asner is Santa, which is one of his
Yep.
very
Again,
common recurring roles in
we've
media.
already talked about it
Yep.
in the regular show special, and I feel like something else
We
too.
might have, yeah, but he's been Santa in a lot of different things. Also, Joe Pantoliano as Martini. I love Joe Pantoliano, especially Memento. As Pi knows, I really like that
Oh
movie.
God.
Memento's great. No, but like no, all jokes aside, that's my favorite role he has. But I really like him in this film as Martini. He's kind of this scam artist penguin that just so happens
Like the
to,
Penguins of Madagascar penguin,
yeah,
basically.
basically. I also like the songs 3 out of 4. I would say I don't really care for the "We're Not So Bad" song,
That
but
whole section could be cut out of this
yeah, it really could. I
movie.
mean, Schnitzel. Well, Schnitzel is actually voiced by Michael Stipe, who is the lead singer of the rock band REM or REM. I don't know that much. I just
Weird.
know that they're the band that made the "It's the End of the World as We Know It" song, which is probably their most famous song, I guess. Although he also did some music for Captain Marvel and Zootopia, as I learned while I was
Hmm.
researching. Um, let me see.
I like.
Oh, yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
keep going. No, I was just gonna say that the Olive's owner is awful. What an awful
Yeah, I know,
person.
right?
What a just terrible. Basically, like, so one of the things that like is just weird about this, the setup is that Olive doesn't act like a reindeer, like a dog.
uh,
That's part of why she thinks she's a reindeer, but like it's not really given an explanation in universe why she doesn't act like a dog or
no,
why the owner wants her to chew up his slippers and dig up the bushes.
and chase
Like
cars. Yeah,
the owner is mad because Olive is not doing
her dog
annoying
chores.
dog things. Yeah, annoying dog things that no one likes. And I mean, it's just I guess it's just a part of the whimsy of the thing that you're just supposed to go with it, but I thought
Yeah,
that was like incredibly stupid. It'd be one thing if he was like I don't know, like he was sad that she didn't do like good dog things like fetching the newspaper or whatever, but like this seemed weird.
yeah,
And he's really mean to her. Now, granted, a few minutes later he tries to apologize, but it really is like off-puttingly mean. It actually it kind of reminds me of the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer stop motion special where Santa is just mean to Rudolph and the misfits
yeah.
like all, or not I don't know if it's Santa but the all the other reindeer are definitely like real mean to Rudolph for no real reason. other than just being awful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the plot is a little tropey in certain spots, especially with
Yeah,
that forced conflict, as well as the flea like blatantly just misinterpreting everything.
right.
Like it's not like they muffled his voice enough to really make it that believable.
I kind of took it as the
Plus,
flea was intentionally manipulating
well,
Olive, but
and here's the other thing though. There's a scene that establishes that Olive has an incredible hearing because of the one radio channel where she reacts because it's like a really high pitched noise that only dogs can hear. And dogs have good hearing, so it's just kind of weird that she doesn't hear him there. But whatever, that's overthinking it at that point. It's I just go with it.
yeah.
But I as silly as it is, I like the Deus Ex Machina file that's just in the
Yeah.
in the mail truck. I thought that was cute. And charming. I don't know if you caught this, but when the postman drops all of his letters and they're kind of like floating, do you know who they're addressed to?
I didn't see.
Bart Simpson.
Ha! That's
Yeah,
cute.
they're addressed to
'Cause
Bart
this-
Simpson.
So one of the weird things, I think Media Fanatic was mentioning that there's two different versions, the TV version and the DVD version, and it's like a minute cut off. I don't think that's that weird. It's probably just like a trim credits or something. But anyway, the weird thing about this is that it originally aired on Fox.
Yep.
And then it went to Nickelodeon for 1 year.
For 1 year.
And then it reran on Cartoon Network for like a decade after. Like, very weird.
Yeah.
Because none of those are owned by the same parent company. So, like,
it was
it just kind of
strange.
bounced around.
But I mostly remember watching it on Cartoon Network. I don't remember watching it on Nick, but
I remember watching it on Nickelodeon. I
Yeah.
remember it airing a lot in that 1 year.
yeah, I definitely remember it being on CN more. But I watched this plenty of times as a kid. I enjoyed it. I like it a lot. Still to this day, it's definitely a nostalgic thing. But even setting that aside, I think it's a very interesting piece of media, especially at the time when, again, 3D CGI still getting its legs, and the fact that they
Yeah.
kind of managed to take a storybook concept, implement it into CGI, and kind of create this unique art style and choice that hadn't really been done before, I don't think. Definitely makes it stand out. I think that's admirable on those grounds, for sure. I think that's most of what I wanted to talk about.
Well, what did you think of it overall? Do you
As
just
a-
like unironically like it, or do
No,
you like
no,
it
I
because of
like it.
nostalgia? Or
I like it.
Okay.
I mean, nostalgia. I know nostalgia is definitely part of it. Like, I don't know that if I didn't have an attachment to this, I would go out of my way to watch it as an adult. I think that, again, for what it's trying to be, which is definitely a children's animated Christmas special, I think it succeeds. Like, it's really good. I mean, it definitely appealed to me as a kid. I'm sure that plenty of kids nowadays would probably enjoy it. And yeah, I mean, the jokes are pretty funny. Like I said, 3 out of the 4 songs I like. I love that the Pope is a Phillies fan. That's great. Yeah, no, I mean, overall, it's a pretty fun time.
Well,
And
that's the weird thing about this, because yeah, there are a few of those jokes that are like, I don't necessarily know if they're dirty jokes, but they're like things that only adults would kind of get, right? Like
Yeah.
the Pope, like I don't know that some kids would recognize who the Pope is, like
uh-huh.
or get that. I'm trying to think. I mean, the Olive meets people whose names are kind of similar to hers, in that like
Richard
the bus
Stans.
right, the
Yeah.
bus driver thought the Pledge of Allegiance because it mentioned standing. It like
And then
round yon virgin,
Yeah.
which is from the what is it, Silent Night?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. The proper term for what that is mondegreen.
mm,
That is the term for when one word sounds like another. It's a mondegreen. But yeah, no, overall, I think it's enjoyable. It succeeds at what it sets out to do, and that's what I
oh yeah, the
respect from
Penguin
this
does
film.
talk about dirty magazines.
Yes, he
Yeah,
does.
that's another one.
Yep.
And then like the whole idea that he's like he sells fake watches and stuff, like that's something that's like a trope that maybe older people would get, like that, that's a sketchy thing that people used to do or maybe still do.
Yeah. Counterfeiting, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know that there's enough adult-ish humor to really.
No, like that's definitely not a focal point. It's just kind of here and there. But
Right.
no, I think it's
I also I guess kind of feel like Drew Barrymore as Olive is just kind of there. I don't feel like Olive has a distinct voice. Like that's the thing. I mean, it's a a decently sized celebrity casting, and it's on the cover of the DVD that it's like with Drew Barrymore as Olive, and it's like she does a fine job. Like I'm not saying that the voice acting is bad. I'm just saying that like that is not that distinctive voice. I don't know. I mean, I also just heard her as Krusty's daughter on The Simpsons in season 12, like a year or two after this.
Yeah,
but
Drew Barrymore was definitely a lot bigger back then.
Yeah,
So
well, but like
Dan
Castellaneta as the mailman is a much more memorable like performance.
Yeah,
I'd say.
I think Joe Pantoliano as Martini is also a pretty memorable voice as well. I think those two are the standouts of this film. That's
another one that like when I was younger didn't get, but now obviously Olive's friends with Martini because you put an olive in a martini, right? Like that's an adult beverage.
Mm-hmm.
So like there are glimpses of that kind of Simpsons-esque writing, like kind of clever sort of thing, but it's not. I kind of wish that there was maybe a little more of that to justify it. There's also just like a lot of weird things, like when they go to the bar, for some reason the Easter Bunny is there. And like it's not a plot point or anything. No. He's just hanging out, and he looks really like weird. Drunk. He looks kind of deranged.
He looks wasted. I'm just gonna say it. He does.
Yeah.
Yep. The last thing I'll say is, Tim. His voice is Jay Moore, who is the voice of Dane Vogel from Saints Row. Not that you would really know that pie, but anyone who knows Saints Row knows Dane Vogel, and once you know that they're the same person, you can't unhear it. I'll just put that out there to anyone out there listening who knows Saints Row. Once you know that, you can't unhear it. It's the same voice. But yeah, that's about everything I have to say. I really like this film. I think for the most part it holds up. A little tropey in the story here and there, but it's admirable for what it's trying to do. I think it succeeds and would definitely return to this film once again, especially if at any point I wanted to show a kid or, a family member or whatever. A younger family member, I should say.
It is a little schmaltzy, but I mean, if there's any time to get away with being a little schmaltzy, it's Christmas, right? Like, people are looking for heartwarming. You wouldn't have wanted this to end in any other way. What did you think about the fact that Olive could just fly at the end? I guess spoilers.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't really care. I mean, I don't know. I think
they don't really give an explanation.
They don't really focus it either. They just kind of go with it. Which, I mean, she has cardboard wings, but
she gets that after she was flying for a little bit.
Now the other thing though is, I don't know. I feel like it's not super distinguished, but they do have her hanging lower than all of the other reindeer.
Yeah.
Which
they also say at the end that Olive saved Christmas by inspiring other people. Not that her literally being there flying really mattered that much, but the fact that she was able to inspire Santa and the others.
Yeah, and that was kind of the whole message, which I thought was cute.
I don't know. Again, it's like these are things that as an adult, there are some plotting things that you're just kind of like, oh, okay, they're just gonna do that. Like the Deus Ex Machina thing was funny, but like you can get away with that once.
Yeah.
And there's a few things in this movie that are like, wow, that's awfully convenient. Like that she can just fly, or that like, the elf believes that Martini, like that he needs to shut down the security system to program a watch. I mean, it's again, it's kind of like kid show logic, and that's fine. But
I would at least make the argument for Olive flying. I mean, why can the reindeer fly?
Because they're reindeer.
But she's
reindeer
also
fly.
not a normal dog. I don't know.
You think she's a reindeer? Yeah, but you know what's weird is that like so many other animals we meet in this are anthropomorphic too. It's not that weird that Olive can talk when her flea can talk and a penguin can talk and the rain.
But like I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like it's about fictional animals. I don't really care about that portion specifically. Sure, the elf turning off the security, that's a different thing altogether, and I agree. That's a little convenient. But I don't know. The flying thing doesn't really bother me. I more so have issues with the flea. Just being a jerk. Be like, yeah, your owner hates you. Go away. It's like, geez. I don't know. I don't know if I could really have a flea like that being my friend. But
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not as high on this film as Shadow is, but I was decently surprised. Like I said, I think it's cute. I think it's something definitely to show to a younger audience.
yeah.
Not something I would ever want to watch on my own again, personally, but I definitely would show it to like a niece or a nephew or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We can go ahead and move on to the first, aka final, depending on your perspective. Dinosaur documentary nomination, Walking with Dinosaurs, the original 6 half hours of CG dinosaur goodness.
We watched all of it, guys.
We did. We watched all 6, unlike last time.
Yeah.
We did do all
We
6.
did it for the finale. I don't think we really had to because but
I can't even remember which one's which. And yeah.
all right, here we are. This is the original Walking with Dinosaurs, narrated by Kenneth Brauna.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even know what to say because it's the thing that inspired all the other things, and there is nothing about this that is really that different from any of the rest of everything. I mean, it's to its credit, to the fairness of it, is that it was the first of its kind, as far as I understand. At least the first high profile, let's do a documentary about dinosaurs where we CG in the dinosaurs and treat it like a regular nature documentary.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I guess, original in that perspective.
Yeah.
If you want like a rundown, I mean, it's the same stuff where every episode is just kind of a different region. Like there's one that focuses on icy, ones that live in an icy area, ones that live in the sky, ones that, just a generic
water.
one on the ground. Yeah, a water one. And the plot, or however you describe it, it's the same as almost all of them except for Big Al, which is that it just hops from one to another. It says, oh, there's this dinosaur, and this dinosaur does this, and it struggles for food in this way. And then it hops to another one, and it talks about it. And then it might jump to like a conflict between those two species, and then jump to a third species, and back to the first. That's all it is. And if you don't care about dinosaurs that much, like I think at this point, Shadow and I really don't care that much about dinosaurs. It just doesn't do anything for you. If you are interested in this sort of thing, then this is certainly something, I guess, at the time. But it's I think Big Al is a lot better for all the reasons we've already discussed. And being the first, of course, I think this looks the roughest of anything that we've seen.
Yep.
Still not like N64 levels of sharp polygons, but texture issues, like textures not looking good, looking just low resolution, like some dinosaurs just look blurry.
Oh, yeah, dude. Episode 5, especially that one, we were commenting on how the models are straight up just blurred low res. Even in standard def, it's low res. It's just not. It does not hold up, not at all.
No, it's still like watchable. Again, it's not so hilariously bad that you're like looking through like they're constantly clipping into the ground or anything. Like it's not even entertainingly bad, to be honest. It's just kind of not that interesting looking, not that detailed looking, not that realistic looking. Like the way these things move their necks and stuff doesn't feel real. It's just there. If we hadn't seen all of the other documentaries, like I'm trying to put myself into that space. I don't know that I really can, but just the concept is interesting. I'll say it, just in isolation, the concept of doing this to show dinosaurs in a way that the audience has never seen them before outside of like Jurassic Park, a fictional movie, right? That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
But looking at it in retrospect with all these other things to compare it to, it just is so boring.
I think I admire the ambition. I admire the original inspiration. I think that if this were a one-off, it would definitely have a lot more of my attention and respect and praise. I think that,
and it's their own fault for milking it so hard.
That's exactly
years and
it.
years.
They shot themselves in the foot because they had something that I think by itself would I still don't think it would change how I feel graphically, visually speaking, but conceptually and just, with creatively what they were doing, I think this was an interesting step for 3D CGI animation as
Yeah.
well. Again, being in the perspective of CG animation didn't really hit its stride until Toy Story came onto the scene in the mid 90s and was like, hey, we can do this now. This is only, what, 6 years after
Well,
Toy Story?
I will say, this is not the last CG thing we will be talking about, and well, we'll get to that when
Yeah.
we get to that. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know what I'm talking about, but
But this is essentially, I don't think anything else existed before it where it was like, let's create a historical piece on something that happened
yeah.
millions of years ago. Let's present it in this brand new medium in a way that no one's ever seen before. For that, definitely admire it. I think it succeeds at doing that. But as far as being entertaining, no. Interesting depends on who you are.
Yeah, like, I kind of talked about this last week, but I do want to make it just abundantly clear that it's just Shadow and I are just not interested in this thing. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this concept, and if you're someone who's interested in dinosaurs, I'm sure this was really cool watching it back then, if
Yeah.
you saw it back then, or even now, if you're really, really into dinosaurs. I'm not. Our criticism mostly just comes from the fact that they put this in this category and they just did it every year to the point where it's just ridiculous that it's like the Simpsons, right? It's like they gotta put the Simpsons in there every year. Doesn't matter the quality of the season or the episode or anything. It has to be in there just about every year. Same thing with these stupid dinosaur documentaries where for years they just shoved one in there and usually from Walking with Dinosaurs, almost all of them, if not all of them we saw had this branding.
Yeah. No, I mean all of them had like Allosaurus, a Walking with Dinosaurs special, Walking with Prehistoric Beasts.
Yeah.
The one with Nigel was like Walking with Dinosaurs special or whatever. I don't remember. Walking
Even though
with the
stylistically that one was
Dinosaurs.
very different.
Yeah.
Like,
But like they all had to have the same moniker. They all had to be recognized as being part of the same franchise. I really think that BBC just milked this for all it was worth, and it just, in retrospect, has diminished any admiration I could have for it because they burned me out. It's just
yeah.
total burnout.
It is also worth noting that there was a 2013 theatrical movie called Walking with Dinosaurs, but it featured like a big name cast voicing the dinosaurs.
Yeah, I'm
and
never watching
it's
that.
like people hated it. It's really low reviewed on like Rotten Tomatoes and whatever, in part because people were really like a big fan. Stop calling these dinosaur documentaries stupid. Everyone knows
Did I say
BBC
it
did
was
the best they
stupid?
could. Yeah, I don't think either of us did. I think that
Yeah.
might be a troll. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of said the exact opposite of that. I respect that, the people that like this, it's not one of those things that I'm like, how could anyone like this?
It's like I'm sure this is how people feel about Marvel movies. I'm sure it's the same
Well,
exact thing. Like people, like there are definitely a subset of people out there that are so sick of Marvel movies because they get pumped
yeah.
out so much. But again, it's an interest thing. If you're into Marvel movies, I know Pi and I both are. We love it. Like we're super into
Yeah.
them. But I definitely understand that there are people out there that are like, no, I'm so sick of this. I don't want to see them anymore. Like I get it. Burnout is a thing, and if it doesn't appeal to your tastes, then you're not going to enjoy it as much. It's just
Right. And it's also like you have to understand that some things when you review them are a product of the way you watch them.
Yes.
And we didn't really realize with these documentaries. We kind of knew what we were getting into with the half-hour category. But this is just the way it was. It just so happened to be, and we could try to put ourselves in the shoes of people watching this for the first time, but the reality is we've just watched so many of these things.
Yeah.
And
again, I think that the fact that they continue to produce more and more diminishes some of the novel and creativity of this original film because it's not so much one of a kind anymore. It's tossed into the mix with all of the others. It's just this giant mesh of the same thing repeated over and over again, just with a different species.
Yeah. And it's just like we've gone over so many times, but it's just not right putting it in the same
It's not.
category
I
as
don't
like
think that
Samurai
this.
Jack
Yeah, I
or
don't think
whatever.
this and Olive are comparable either.
I'm not even saying, but like I'm not even saying like this is animation. I'm not trying to argue it's not animation. It's just that the idea of having one category for just the blanket of animation is ludicrous. It is
Yep.
stupid because animation encompasses so many things, and at least with this and Olive you can kind of debate the CG because they are both CG at least.
Yeah, but they're also
Um
so different.
they are. Yeah.
Because like this one, Olive is telling a narrative. It's got comedy. It's going for a 2D art style using 3D to create that, whereas this is like going for a super realistic. Putting CG models into real life environments. It's not so much a narrative as it is a documentary full of information. It's got
Right.
a
I mean,
narration. Like, I don't think these
in
are comparable personally.
in order to judge it has to be a like, do you think Olive did achieved what it was trying to do better than what Walking with Dinosaurs achieving what it was trying to do,
Right.
right? Because they're not trying to achieve the same thing.
Yeah, I don't. The only connection there is, like you said, is the fact that they both use CG, but they're used in such different ways that it's just like
Yeah.
I just don't think these are comparable in the slightest. And the fact that they were essentially pit up against one another, it's just like, well, what the heck? I don't think that's fair to
Yeah.
either of these.
Right.
If
Right.
Olive
And I
won and
mean,
Walking
and
with
here and
Dinosaurs
here's
lost, I don't think it'd be fair to Walking with Dinosaurs. And if Walking with Dinosaurs won and Olive lost, I don't think it's fair to Olive. Like, I just don't think that no
yeah.
matter which one won, it would be fair to the other one.
Well, here's the other thing too is that documentaries are also I feel like it's a rough spot in order to judge them because a lot of documentaries kind of live and die on how interested in the subject you already were.
Right.
I mean, I think a truly amazing documentary can take a subject that you're not interested in and make you care
Yeah,
super much like
documentaries are
like
very much about the presentation.
like Tiger King, for
Uh
example.
huh.
And I mean that documentary has a lot of problems in how it portrayed some things. But in terms of being an entertaining, interesting documentary, I never thought I'd care so much about big cats or like these local zoos or whatever. And
Yeah.
because of the presentation of it, it made it interesting. But with more dry nature documentaries like this one, if you're not predisposed for it, you're just not gonna care. And unfortunately, it's just not really something I care about.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying at all that it's bad, but just like how all of the Emmy voters, whether they cared about dinosaurs or not, had to watch this or at least claim they watched this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and like we said about Big Al earlier, I had straight up said it was the most interesting one. I was genuinely interested in that. I liked how they presented a lot of the things after the fact. The way that they did show off actual dinosaur bones and
right.
explained and, basically described why they made the artistic decisions that they did with the narrative they came up with. I thought that was creative, and that was definitely very unique from this one. If it were just those two, I'd even still be fine with it. Because Big Al is very different from Walking with Dinosaurs. They both have separate identities from one another. But yeah, it's just like Pi said, it's an interest thing, it's a taste thing, and everybody's different when it comes to that. And I don't knock anyone for liking these either. I think that if you do enjoy the science of dinosaurs and the history of evolution of dinosaurs and all of that, then yeah, absolutely, there's definitely something here to be found. But for me personally, I liked it the first time, and now I've just got grown such a distaste. And again, part of it is the fact that Pi and I did force ourselves to watch all of these for this show. And I think that if
Yep.
I just watched one by itself on its own, I'd be like, yeah, that was pretty cool. Not knowing how much of this there really was and forcing myself to watch it. I think that was also part of why I have such a distaste is
Of
and
course.
was ultimately a detriment. But it's the same thing with Bob's Burgers too. Like I've seen a good amount of Bob's Burgers and I don't like the show because all the episodes we've seen except for like 2 or 3 weren't very good. Whereas with The Simpsons, we've watched some bad episodes, but we've seen some good episodes. I think The Simpsons just taste-wise appeals to me more, and I'm sure if I didn't have any interest in that, I might be sick of The Simpsons right now. It's just kind of a personal thing.
especially different with documentaries.
Yes.
Just and again, like I said, it's a dry one too. It's not. It is nothing like something like Tiger King or like a, I don't know, more of a reality show-esque angle that is trying to be entertaining, because this is trying to be scientific, right?
Yep.
And again, that can oftentimes be dry. Some people are really into it, some people aren't. And
One of the other things to bring up that I think is worth mentioning is at most award shows for film, TV, documentaries have their own category, separate from
I
other
believe
forms
this
of
one does
media.
as well. This
Yeah,
one does as well.
but because this is animation, no, doesn't get that.
Yeah.
But again, animated documentaries hard to come by, but they're out there. But
Yeah.
still,
So
I don't think this is one of the most, not the, but one of the most egregious examples of things just not being comparable for this year. I just
yeah.
don't see a single connection, because the one that exists, they're just so vastly different that there's nothing to compare here. I just don't think it's fair for either of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. So we're also sticking up for these documentaries in the sense that we don't agree with them being placed where they were placed, and it's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about specific things. I mean, we watched so many of these. I can't. I'm trying to think. I don't know. We watched this. We watched 2 episodes of this right before the show. We watched the rest a few days ago. I can't remember anything specific.
I remember Pokemon.
We
'Cause that's
talked
what
about Pokemon. Yeah.
There was one shot where the dinosaur salivated on the camera lens. That happened. So
Yeah.
the idea of dinosaurs interacting with the camera this was the first one to do it. So those other ones that did it later, not original.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Oh, the meteor at the end. We see the meteor that kills the
You
dinosaurs.
mean the cloud of fog?
There's like a cloud of fog, and then a strong breeze that like makes one of the dinosaurs ragdoll across the screen.
I don't think.
And then it's like a bunch of
anymore.
no, yeah, and then it's just a bunch of small little meteorites. This one also employs puppetry,
Yes,
like
it
Big
does.
Al. And I've made one of the puppets an emoji on our server just because it just comes out of nowhere. It's just this head that pops out of the bushes spying on other dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But I think this is worse than Big Al in that aspect, because although the puppets are still, pretty well made, they use a lot of puppets, but it's only ever in close-up shots of the head. If you see a very close-up shot of a head in this, it's always going to be a puppet.
Yep.
And it's just so jarring because it doesn't look that close to what the CGI looks like.
Especially when it flip-flops back and forth, like shot to shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool puppets, but it just hurts the illusion on both ends, to be honest.
Yeah, and there are other shots. I think it was the 6th episode where they were actually using some real footage mixed with
Oh,
the
yes.
CG.
Yes.
Which also stuck out horribly. I forget what it was. There was some kind of like
It was like a badger or something.
Badger
Yeah.
weasel thing that they flip flopped
snake.
back and forth between. It was jarring. I think that was
Yeah.
even worse than the puppetry in terms of, because it's like you're actually seeing something real versus a computer graphic. I
Right.
thought that
Oh.
was weak.
Yeah. Something worth talking about. The Undersea episode was the best. I thought it looked the best. It was actually kind of interesting. Shadow was not a big fan because he hates Undersea.
Yes, I do.
But what I will say is that the underwater one, Cruel Sea, if you like underwater filming stuff, which I do, I think it's often quite beautiful, and they filmed it in the Bahamas apparently. It's got good water visuals. The CGI looks better because you don't have to animate as much. You don't have to come up with a walking cycle. Fish basically just kind of wiggle their bodies, which lends itself pretty well to CG. You can do that in CG pretty well. Because you're undersea, there's not as much light. So again, in darker environments, these CG models look a lot better. And then additionally, I don't know why this is, but it was the most violent one, which was actually kind of cool. Like this big primordial shark thing gets to bite something and like, you know, attack it, and you see schools of, I think, actual fish filmed. And yeah, like I thought, again, I'm not gonna say that it was good, but it was the one that engaged me the most. Or not that it was eh. I'm not gonna say that I liked it in particular, but it's the one that engaged me the most. I want to be careful about my wording because, again, I don't think this is bad. It's just not for me, not right for the category, and we're just so sick of talking about these. We're so sick of seeing them. But I thought that was worth noting, that if you were interested in this, I recommend Cruel Sea above any of the rest of them. I thought it did stand out a bit better than all of the rest of the other episodes. Of what you saw of it, Shadow, what did you
No,
think?
I mean, I agree. I think the underwater aspect, although, well,
He looked away during some
yeah,
of the
there were
segments.
times where I would just tab out.
He still
but,
watched it. He listened to it.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think overall, like you said, I think the fact that it was underwater definitely helped. The fact that they can add watery effects to blur the images and, again, keep it darker because it's underwater, less light. I think that was all great. Definitely much more visually interesting. However, there was one moment where there was some sort of raptor running in the water, and that was probably the most preposterous thing I've seen out of all of these documentaries.
Yes.
It was just absurd. There is no way you're going to convince me that raptors did that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was doggy paddling.
Yes.
But the way that they showed it swimming looked horribly unrealistic.
Absurd.
It is possible that these dinosaurs did know how to swim. I'm not trying to like say that the science is wrong on that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the way they chose to animate it, it didn't look correct. And I don't know if it's because they didn't have the exact proportions of the dinosaur correct, because it's speculation, or just the animation looked wonky, but it looked stupid. It just looked stupid.
Really did.
Let's see, we got to see dinosaur dung.
Yep,
That's
that
right. They go in another episode, they go into a big diatribe. We get to see a dinosaur pooping. Don't worry. Yep, you get to see it. And then it's close up on probably actual dung of some animal, and because it's not CG. The pooping part is CG, but then on the ground, and then we get to see dung beetles, like real life dung beetles, and they're like, "Oh yeah, real life current day dung beetles eat poop. Isn't that great?" Like it's just like, yeah, this is true, and yeah, this is scientific, but like I didn't need to focus on this detail,
I think
right?
those
Like
people need to watch Pickle Rick so they can listen to that therapist.
dang it,
I
Shadow.
had to bring it back, baby.
We've been so long without a Pickle Rick reference.
Nope. Gotta bring it back. Never forget. Never forget. And on that note, that's all I have to say about walking with dinosaurs.
The other weird thing is that no one walks with these dinosaurs.
No.
I know it's just a saying, but it's just kind of like a weird. I don't know. Why wouldn't it be called something like, dinosaurs reconstructed or something like that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. I suppose that could be better.
You've earned Faith's respect.
Heck yeah. See, then I knew it was worth it.
All right.
Pi is so disappointed.
I'm just ready to never watch another one of these again.
Okay. Well, I guess we can go ahead and start wrapping this one up then.
Yep. So let's see. Where's my piece of paper with the order that we go? Okay. So our nominee for 2000. What do you got, bud? We probably have the same thing. Yeah. It features. It was made by two of our favorite people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Count of three.
Sure.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ego Trip.
Ego Trip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ego Trip.
Dexter's Laboratory, Ego Trip. I haven't seen it in a while, but from what I remember as a kid, it was pretty like cinematic. I mean, I trust that with both Gendy and Craig McCracken working on it, if nothing else, I'm sure it's a really like cinematic, pretty looking TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
I only barely remember the plot, and I've been meaning to go back to it. It's actually, there's a remastered, like a cleaned up version on YouTube. Someone did that, and I've been meaning to go back to it. But look, it was Cartoon Network's first TV movie.
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware.
It was the initial
And
finale to the show too.
yeah, there's just like a lot to it.
You get
And
to
yeah,
see all the different generations of Mandark and Dexter. Well, generations, I use
yes,
that term loosely, but you know what I mean. The different
yeah,
incarnations of
age groups.
Dexter and Mandark, which is
Yeah,
cool. They kind of battle each other. Yeah, it really does feel like a great climax to the series, especially with it being, one of Cartoon Network's first original series. To have a finale like that do it justice. I mean, yeah, they brought it back later, but people don't like to remember that. Anyways, I think Ego Trip's phenomenal. It's definitely a fun time from start to finish. I love the all the different versions of Dexter interacting with each other
yeah.
and Mandark, especially Sumo Mandark. I don't know why. That's always the strangest choice to me, was just having like a sumo wrestler Mandark, basically. Yeah, no, it's a solid special of Dexter's Lab. Definitely a great first TV movie for the studio.
And they
And
really hyped it up.
they did.
The promos are like real serious, like spooky sounding.
Hmm.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah.
The Sonic generations of Dexter, exactly.
I
Bringing in
preferred Into the
Sonic 2.
Dexterverse.
Well, that's fair as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
no. Solid
So yeah,
choice. I knew we picked the
absolutely.
same one for that one.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Um,
Now I gotta mark Dexter's
yeah.
Lab off my list.
Okay.
All right.
Our ranking of these two,
Of these two, well,
of Olive and Walking with Dinosaurs. I'll go first. I'll go
go
first.
for it.
You know what? I am going to put Walking with Dinosaurs first. I'm going to say All of the Other Reindeer is second, Walking with Dinosaurs first, because I've talked yeah, a lot of dislike towards these dinosaur things, but in all honesty, the idea of recreating these dinosaurs in CG using at the time cutting edge technology, I think that is a bold enough thing for the first time, the very first time they did it. I think that is bold enough to deserve the award. No hate on Olive. I think Olive is experimental and interesting in some ways, but I personally enjoyed watching Olive more just because of the other documentaries. But I do think that it deserves some recognition for what it did. Even if they kind of like oversaturated it after, even if they would just keep nominating this over and over again, I think that this one was bold and experimental enough to earn it. So that's where I'm putting it. I think it's a super subjective choice. I feel like you're probably gonna go the other way, and I don't blame you at all. But I don't know. It's I kind of feel like for all the bad stuff I've said about these documentaries, I need to acknowledge that it is a cool idea. It's a cool idea. So and I also acknowledge that for as not super great as the CGI has held up, I still think this could have looked a lot worse if they didn't put as much budget and effort and time into it as they did. It could have looked like absolute garbage, whereas it doesn't look great, but it is watchable. You can suspend your disbelief if you are interested in the subject matter.
All right, so as I've already said many times, I don't think these are comparable, but I will still rank them. Now here's my thing.
Well, I ranked them on which one do I think deserves the award. Again, on personal enjoyment, I put Olive first, but on which one would I vote on if I was an Emmy voter, that's what I would have picked. You can choose whatever criteria you want to choose, Shadow. You could choose just liked more or which one you think deserves more. And again, I have no horse in this race. I don't really care which one you pick, but I didn't say that to make you look bad or anything.
You're fine.
Just yeah.
You're fine. That's the thing. I mean, really, it does ultimately come down to what criteria am I defining, and this is the criteria I'm going to use, as I've used with a lot of my choices. If I were voting at the time, if I were somebody at the time, I would probably be inclined to pick the Walking with Dinosaurs special. However, from the perspective of somebody watching these now, which do I think deserves the award more? I am definitely giving it to Olive, because as far as originality and uniqueness goes, I still think Olive is a pretty unique work compared to this Walking with Dinosaurs special, which eventually became a franchise. Now, as I've said in previous streams, I wanted to go into this one with the perspective of it being the first, and I definitely did. However, ultimately when it comes down to the award, I feel like Olive is a much more artistically unique and interesting, especially in today's era where CG interacting with real life is so prevalent. Coming from the perspective of someone in a modern era, I would definitely say that Olive is a far more interesting choice. So really, it just comes down to that perspective of, if I were voting in 2000, I would probably pick Walking with Dinosaurs. But looking at them now, based on our viewing experience, I think Olive is way more deserving. But again, I think, like we've said, this is just, it's not comparable. It's just a subjective thing, 100%. And
yes,
I could see either of these winning or losing. Like I said, if one won, it's not fair to, like, whichever one won, it's not fair to the other. Vice versa. It's just not. I think they both deserve to be recognized for doing vastly different things. So yeah, that's it.
It's a Media Fanatic. Thank you for saying that. Says that we did a great job reviewing the dinosaur documentaries.
Thank you, Media Fanatic.
And CDCV says, congrats on making it through the dinosaur era.
Thank goodness.
Whew. Yeah.
It's
okay.
good to be over. It's good to
Chatham.
Yeah.
Well, actually, before just a reminder, last chance to vote in the poll. I included both years in it just because, I don't know, to make it a little more interesting. But yeah, so click in. There should be a link in the description if there's not. Refresh the page. Otherwise, it's just always on my community tab every week. All right, so Shadow, what won the Emmy?
Well, Walking with Dinosaurs won the Emmy, as we've probably said in many, many previous streams already. This just set the ball rolling. It snowballed into so much more. Like we kind of knew it. It is unsurprising. Very ambitious. I appreciate the innovation that it was going for, and like I said, I think both are deserving for different reasons. So I really have no quarrel with one winning over the other. I just don't think they are comparable.
That's fair. That's completely fair. All right, let's jump it over to the poll results.
All righty, let's do it.
So, out of 242 votes, in dead last, 7%, we have the Ballad of Big Al.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed.
I'm disappointed too, but that's not surprising.
Maybe I should have put that it was a Walking with Dinosaurs special.
Yeah, you should have. That'll get an attention. That's what the BBC did.
Oh boy! In second place with 15%, it's Walking with Dinosaurs.
That was a really dramatic pause there.
At 77% in number one, it is All of the Other Reindeer. Doesn't surprise me considering how much exposure that had on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Just knowing my user base, I'm sure that that percentage of people are just people who have seen that and none of the other two, which I don't blame you. If I were asked this a week ago, All of the Other Reindeer is the only one I've seen. Yeah. I saw previously, so
yeah, unsurprising.
All right,
but hey.
I am. Yeah, much like Bob's Burgers, after they won an Emmy, they just kept submitting the same thing over and over again. Absolutely true. Yeah. So that wraps up the two. No, that doesn't wrap up the 2000s.
Almost.
That wraps up the 2000s for the long form category. Looking back, I mean, like the truth is, if we disqualified the documentaries, like it was a pretty cool category.
Was a great decade.
Yeah, when they weren't picking these documentaries, and I don't just mean the dinosaur ones, the Alien Earth one was terrible, as we know, and the Dragon one was also terrible. But everything else they nominated, for the most part, was like really dang good. Like the Clone Wars,
Afro
Samurai
Jack was unique.
Yeah,
Heck Boy.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Right? Like there was some really cool stuff that I never would have seen otherwise. Like
yes, and that's why we chose to do the category, because we looked at the documentaries and we're like, oh, that's gonna be weird. But we looked at the other stuff and we're like, we just can't leave this out. It's not fair. It's not right. Like these were big, important, interesting, award-deserving things that happened in this decade in animation, and they made a subcategory for it. So let's talk about it.
Yep.
And the problem is, if we did disqualify the documentaries, we would have had a lot of weeks where it was just one
or two
special.
things,
yeah, and there wouldn't have been enough to talk about. But yeah, whatever we do going forward, I don't think we're ever going to pick another category that incorporates documentaries.
No way.
No. Although, and if we do, no. If we do, we might just disqualify them and whatever. Making every show is a learning process, and we've learned a lot from making the award show Audit so far. And we know how to make it better in the future.
Yeah.
So, I hope you guys enjoyed us talking about the dinosaur documentaries. I think it certainly added an interesting layer to our show, but
it was definitely an experience that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Like, it's definitely something to remember. For sure.
A bonding experience for me and Shadow. We watched almost all of these together over Discord.
I'll never forget it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's definitely something. But Shadow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this. We actually do have a documentary next week.
Oh, do we now?
Well, a mockumentary.
Ooh. Is it about dragons?
Just why don't you tell the viewers the nominees next week?
Alrighty. Well, we've got 5 nominations. This is for the 2000 Primetime Emmy Awards half-hour animation category. We've got 5 nominations, the first of which being Family Guy, back once again with the episode Road to Rhode Island. We've got
the first Road to episode, if I'm not mistaken, which are fan favorites.
Oh, this is like an ongoing thing then.
Oh, it is. Yes,
oh, okay.
I know that, man. You really know nothing about Family Guy,
dude.
Yeah, they do these Road to travel episodes where it's like Brian and Stewie go somewhere.
Okay.
And they're I believe almost always like musicals. This is a music number we're looking at right now, FYI.
Okay.
They're not just hanging out like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that right there shows you guys. I literally do not know Family Guy. I don't.
Well, you call it Quahog.
It is Quahog. It is. Oh no, you don't need to educate me, Faith. I don't need to know. I'd rather live in ignorance on this
season 2 of Family Guy is what that is.
Oh,
okay,
boy.
Next.
Okay, after that we've got an MTV animated series, very strange, called
but it's
Downtown.
Yeah, you guys remember Downtown?
Yeah, the episode Before and After.
Before and after what?
Before
no,
and
that's
after.
the title. That's the title of the episode. According to Wikipedia, this is loosely based off of like real experiences people had. I don't know. It's on YouTube. It looks like Clone High because it's MTV, but I don't think it's Clone High.
The one guy on the right reminds me of that 16 character. I'm just being honest. Yeah, I don't know. That one will be interesting.
Yeah, Downton Abbey. That's right. The American version on MTV.
Yes.
Downtown Abbey, obviously.
Huh. Okay. Well, so we've got that. Third up, we have South Park is back with Chin Pokemon.
The Pokemon parody.
Yep.
If you couldn't tell, it's we're in real early South Park now, so things are probably gonna get super offensive and super weird. But I mean, this is an episode that is pretty highly regarded, I'd say, of early, or at least at the time was. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that one will definitely appeal to me. And then we have another returning nominee with the Powerpuff Girls is back again with the pairing of Beat Your Greens and Down and Dirty, season 2. Excited for that. And then
not the pair that I would have picked, but we'll talk about that.
Either. But yeah, we'll see. And then last but not least, we have. Wait for it. The Simpsons. Oh my gosh. Never saw it come in.
Wow.
Behind the Laughter. I'm guessing this is the one you were talking about.
Well, you'll just have to wait and see, my friend.
Oh boy. I'm just guessing based off of the scripts and the camera, but context clues, right?
Oh, you don't know, man. You don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it is that MTV series. We'll find out.
Well, if it's loosely based on stuff, maybe it could be considered a documentary. I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah.
Just a question. How familiar are you with the, I think also MTV show Behind the Music?
I'm not.
Perfect. Neither am I. All right.
Okay, well, yeah, so those are the 5 nominees that we will be talking about next week. So, yeah, definitely tune in for those. It'll be an interesting one, I'm sure.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
I think that about sums it up.
I think it does. It's going to be a weird week. We're going to close out the 2000s in style. But yeah, I mean, oh man, the 90s are going to be a very weird time because I don't know if you guys saw, but there's just like a lot of really random like one-off stuff like the Martin Luther King special and Daisy Head Maisie.
Yeah, and Shelley Duvall's bedtime stories.
And a whole season of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
I can't wait. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Mark, my friend Martin, you're right. I've seen it before. I know it.
Is Martin your friend now?
Oh, he's my friend, all right. Yeah.
And the thing we're looking forward to the most is the cow and chicken episode where they shrink down and go inside Cow's body.
Heck yeah, can't wait, guys. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. The 90s
all right,
are
everyone.
back.
Yep. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy. Be safe this Black Friday weekend.
Yes. Yep.
And when we see you next, it'll be Christmas season.
Yeah. It's too bad Olive was this week and not next, but oh well.
It happens.
It happens, yeah. I mean, technically it's already Christmas season according to capitalism, but anyways.
All right, everyone.
Yeah, we will see.
Go watch some dinosaur documentaries.
Or don't. I don't blame you if you don't. But, if you
All
like it, go for it. Bye, guys.
All right. PIEGUYRULZ out.